Hello Sofa Squad, thank you for joining. Today we are going to be talking about just a few updates that are going on. The first one we're going to jump right into because we have been following this and a lot of people feel a lot of ways about it, so let's go ahead and start dishing. Now who I'm going to start talking about is Krystal Kenney. Now this is in relation to the Patrick Frazee case. Patrick Frazee is in prison for the rest of his life. Krystal Kenney was like his gal pal, his little assistant, and she ended up taking a deal and testifying against him. So she took a plea deal, she testified against him to help get him. Now, so many people, myself included, were like, this woman was so much more involved in this. What a sweet deal she got, so on and so forth. She ended up getting sentenced to 3 years. Now, what would happen is soon after this, she would file an appeal saying, hey, look, you know what? That sentence is out of the range for what I agreed to and for the charges that I pled out to. And the appeals court would end up siding with her, and they would say, yeah, you know what? You didn't, yeah, this is not, no, resentence her. So then it was just like everyone's like, oh my gosh, you know, she's getting ready to walk. Now here's the thing, 3 years was already a good deal. 3 years was already not enough time, okay? So she went back, they resentenced her, and it is exactly what we were anticipating. It was 18 months. Now she is going to serve a year of parole. Now there is, I don't even want to call it silver lining, but essentially the judge was not having it. He wasn't going to let this go by him without throwing his 2 cents in about what he thought about Miss Kenney. Now he felt like, just as all of us do, that this was not enough time for her. He would say that her actions were like cold, cruel, and devoid of any compassion for human life. He acknowledged that this resentencing, the fact that they're having to do it, but also that she's getting out early is, you know, not good for Kelsey Barrett, the victim's family. Clearly. Now, even with all this being said, Krystal's attorney was like, look, you know what? She did the right thing when she testified, even though it was putting herself in danger and yada, yada, yada. You know, she did it because it was the right thing to do. You know, and honestly, it feels like a slap across her face because it's like, hello. The right thing to do would have been to have turned Patrick in. Now, the judge didn't buy into that. He was like, look, this wasn't, you know, her actions that she did, this wasn't, you know, a fleeting thing. It wasn't in the moment. These were calculated actions that she did, and she had tons of chances to do the right thing, which she over and over and over again chose not to. The judge would say, you know what, you had all these chances to do the right thing, and a normal person with a, you know, sense of humanity and a sense of right or wrong would have done those things. And I 100% agree. There is something internally broken about her to have gone along with this process with Patrick to the extent that she did. Again, she was resentenced to 18 months and a year parole, and she is already out at this point, and she is serving that. It's going to be very curious to see what takes place with her, because again, my whole thing is this. I'm like, if you were this easily led and you're spiritual, your human compassion, your right or wrong compass, whatever it is that off, that someone could convince you to do the things that she did for Patrick, who's to say that the next guy that comes along isn't going to have her do something just as bad or worse? I personally feel like the public is in that much more danger with her on the streets. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is the case of Jennifer Dulos. Now, there's a couple of updates that I want to do in that one, but first I want to talk about something, you know, if you will, good that's coming from this, and that's called Jennifer's Law. Now, obviously, this is named for Jennifer Dulos, and what this is in relation to is the domestic situation that was going on with her and Fotis. Now, remember, they had 5 children together, and at one point, Jennifer had tried to get a restraining order against him, but that was denied because she couldn't prove any, you know, physical harm from him. What this law is seeking to do is to expand the definition of domestic violence to include other forms of abuse, such as emotional. Now, for the most part, so far, everybody's like, yeah, go on, pass it through. You know, but there's one part, and it's like the wording, the definition, that's kind of snagging some people up, and that's called coercive control. Now, one of the issues that the people have with this is how that's going to be defined defined and what that definition, the impact that that could have on other areas, such as in child custody and divorce cases. Now, Suzanne Adam, who is the executive director of the Domestic Violence Crisis Center, said that coercive control entails power and control over the victim through actions such as isolation, humiliation, intimidation, and domination. It does not relate to a single incident, but is a purposeful pattern of behavior that takes place over a period of time in order to make the victim dependent on the abuser. Now, if this law goes through, it would add coercive control to the the whole umbrella of domestic violence, domestic abuse, and it would go into family law statutes. Now, like I said before, there is some fear that this could cause unintended consequences for the victims, for the children. Now, one aspect for the victims is that this could become very costly in court. So oftentimes, as you know, when this is taking place, the victims have been isolated financially, things of that nature. So the abuser has control over money and things like that. So this could pose a bit of an issue. Now, this could also make, divorce cases, the child custody aspect of who the children are going to go with, it could almost, in a sense, give power to the abuser again through financial aspects. So they're trying to iron that part out before this is completely, passed, signed, all that type stuff. Now, if you haven't followed this case, it's still taking place. Fotis is no longer here. He took his own life. And Michelle Troconis, who was his gal pal and who has been accused of conspiring with him to help clean up and do other things in this crime, she is still going through the court motions. And actually, recently, the judge said that, what, I'm not going to let you do a change of venue. We ain't having all that. And he said that all the charges and all that kind of stuff are going to go into one thing. And so we're still watching that to see what happens. As of now, Jennifer Dulos has never been found. I'm imagining they probably aren't going to find her at this point, which is completely sad and tragic. I feel really bad for her children and her family, the family members that cared about her and didn't do the things that Fotis did. Now, we're going to keep following that case. Also, on the note of these bills being passed and things of this nature, there's another update. Now, this is in relation to little baby Evelyn. Now, Evelyn is the daughter of Megan Boswell. Megan Boswell, that case, again, it's still going on. It hasn't gone to trial. But she had reported Evelyn missing. However, she had been gone for a while. Family members hadn't seen her or whatever. Now, what Evelyn's law is looking to do is to be able to charge parents who do not report their children missing in a timely fashion. Now, this would be considered a misdemeanor, but, it's a start. Too many of these times we see these cases where the parent, think of Casey Anthony, think of Megan. Megan, this is very similar, where they don't report these children missing, and you're just like, what? And to me, and I don't know if this is one of the intended, outcomes with this, but if they're able to sit here and say, okay, you know what, we're trying to get this investigation, why didn't this parent report the child missing? We have evidence of that. We can get them on a misdemeanor. We can get a placeholder, if you will, on them. And regardless, it should be, I'm sorry, I do not buy these people who take forever to, report their children missing, because usually they had something to do with it. Now, that's all the little updates I have today. Thank you for watching. If you want to watch more of my videos, hear more stuff from me, join the Sofa Squad, just click the stuff that's popping up here. I appreciate everybody who watches, all the subs, Patreons, channel members, viewers, and the Sofa Squad. You make this channel and this sofa possible to hang out on. Thank you very much. And guess what? Until next time, I'll see you then.